Hello everyone. Basically what this video is going to do is we're going to compare these two recorders to each other, see how the software is and how the hardware is, and how they connect to the different game systems. So first let's go with the hardware. So you got your component video cable set, your quick start guide, your USB cable to plug it to your computer. You got to have a power supply so it gets power, software CD, and you got the IR blaster cable, which was so you could like tell it to change the channel to like a satellite dish or something else. On the front you got your power switch, you got your blue LED to let you know it's actually powered on, you got your yellow for problems, you got your red when it's recording, and then you have your S-video input, you got a composite video input, and you have stereo input. So this one does let you record lower than HD. In the back you have where you have your stereo in, stereo out, your component video in, and your component out to the television. You even have the optional optical audio connections and the IR blaster where the computer USB connection goes, and also the power supply plug. So this is pretty much what it looks like to plug in your game system to the recorder, and then the recorder out to the computer and to the TV. Also, you got to make sure you plug it to the wall for power. You got your HDMI cable, USB cable, and PlayStation 3 cable, which is specific for this unit, and of course a quick start guide. There's also a component out cable that you can plug up, say for like a Nintendo Wii. In the front you have the HDMI in for your Xbox and an AV cable in, which is for the PlayStation 3. It also comes in the package with a component out cable that also connects to the AV in. What's neat about this, you can have both the Xbox and the PS3 plugged in simultaneously. The back of the unit has an HDMI out to the television and a USB connection to the computer, which also provides power for the unit. Now let's talk about the software. For the software for the HDPVR, I had to use two of them. I used the original software that came with it, which I did on Windows, and then I moved to ITV software. And for the game capture, I just used the default. So this is the software that came with it. This is old footage I have, but I don't use this software anymore. I don't have access to my Windows machine. But originally I would use this that came with it, and it's pretty straightforward. You get your video signal, you could choose your settings, but that was about it. You didn't have any editing, you didn't have really control of how the different types work. They gave you three choices, but they didn't really change much. You had your PlayStation 3 to make the video file play on a PlayStation 3. You had a V or AV CHD just so it could play on, I guess, a camera, or maybe that's kind of like the raw version of it. And then you had the Xbox 360, which made it like a .mp4. It was supposed to make it so it could play on an Xbox 360 machine. So they were really just how the files would be playable once it was done. Didn't really have any other control. Recorded at highest setting, and it did it at about 60 frames per second, and that's it. I was last using the ITV software from Elgato, so I've already been using Elgato software to record from the HDPVR on my computer. As you see, I would put the settings at the max, which was about 12 to 18 mbits per second. Came out to about 5.1 gigabytes. I always left the picture at defaults, and that's about it. This is how I would record at the end. It worked fine, but again, it was still 60 frames per second. Didn't really have too many choices on the export, and I would still have to edit it and get rid of the black border at the end. But this is what I was using at the end, and this worked good. If you have it and you have a Mac, this is probably the best way, I think, to record with it. So this is what it looked like when I would record with the software that I decided to use. Keep in mind, the software changes. You could be using Sony Vegas, whatever you want. So the abilities of how you export and everything kind of change a bit. But this is what I was limited to. This is what I had to use. So here we have the Game Capture HD software for Elgato. and the settings are pretty straightforward. I got it on PS3, The settings are set at best. I do stretch the standard definition for like the Wii or whatnot. I have to choose component because HDMI is not available because it's blocked, and you could also preserve it. Right now I like it recording at 29.97 frames per second progressive at 15 megabits per second at 224 kilobits a second of audio, and it's encoding this in real time. It's not like I have to export it again. A lot of the recordings it does, it also really chops off that little black thing on the outside. And on the bottom here, I leave all the settings at default, and I'm good to go. One of the neat things is you could actually name the files before you even start recording. That way it's just not some generic name, like I'm going to just call this Elgato 1 for reference. And if you do a direct upload to YouTube, you could also put it in the game description and whatnot to it. You could also do this so it organizes it in the next menu. See, there's where you actually could put in more info into the tags. And if you look at the next tag, you see you could actually organize it by folders, games, things like that. And you have your share option on the bottom where you could export it to different ways. Straight to YouTube, straight to your computer, straight into an editing program like iMovie or ProRes. And when you're ready to record, you have the recorder down here. You could even do time lapse. Like all that time I was explaining, I could go back and say, hey, I wanted to record 2 minutes ago. I could go back 2 minutes because it's always recording. Even if you're not recording, it's recording. So let's go ahead and put it back to live, and let's just record something. And as you record, you can mute the sound, and you could also check again what setting you're recording in right here. And as you see, I already explained the preferences that I set, and you can just double check, and you're good to go. So let's record something. Now that we have something recorded, we can go ahead and take a look at how it stores that information. So we click on the edit, we'll actually see that we now have a recording on the videos, and you could actually kind of scrub through your recording and actually kind of do some minimum editing. Like you could say, okay, well, at this point I want to chop it from the main point and maybe even like make a new segment. So I could cut it that way, and even the cut info you could stretch it back out to full length. So I could say, hey, well, I cut it but I want it a little bit more this way or less. So you have the basics of at least chopping it up and making it where you can just export it straight to YouTube right from here. So I'm going to undo that. You can use the key shortcuts to do that. There we go. And even then, let's say you just want a certain clip and you still want to retain all the footage, you could actually make that clip into its own separate video clip. And then you still don't lose whatever you've done originally. And of course, once you're done, just click on one of those to export it. I'm going to just export it straight to the hard drive instead of any one of these. So here I go. And then you can click here. You can see what's already been exported. And that's all that's to it. That's all you got to do to edit and record on this. As for video quality, they're both pretty much equal. Either way, you can't go wrong with either piece of equipment, but as you can see, for me, the software and the lack of cables is what sold me on the game capture. So from now on, I'll be using this instead of the other. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks for watching.